I had given up on storytelling. I'd retired. And something changed my life profoundly. I got a time machine. Really, I got a time machine. A while back, my previous life when I was married and lived in a different place and had a different life, and I bought a wardrobe. Something called to me at Abby Ann's. You know, if you're familiar with Abby Ann's, right? Yeah. I went to Abby Ann's and I got a wardrobe. And at the time, it just held clothes. I didn't think much about it. So my ex-wife sold her old house. That's gone now, and I got the wardrobe. So I got home and I'm looking at the wardrobe. And the wardrobes are made out of oak. Oak special, right? We've seen through ancient culture all these oak trees and whatnot. There's something about that. So I got in it and I'm looking at it and I'm cleaning it up, you know, thinking I'm reflecting my past life and whatnot. And I noticed there's some markings on the inside of this thing, right? As you know what a wardrobe is, there's like an area where you can hang clothes and there's there's drawers, right? Well, you open up the area where you can hang clothes, and I got in there and I started looking around. And I saw there's a map of the Earth, there's a map of our solar system, and then there's this crazy map behind me that I can only think is a galaxy. I haven't messed with that yet. So, I started playing around with this and I realized that it opens a portal. It's ancient. And I really have this, I'm not lying to you. With the one that has the map of the Earth particularly, you select an area, there's a timeline, you select it, and it opens a portal for you. And you go right into it. So, I've been messing around with this. And how have I been messing around with this? Well, how many references have you heard to blue? Throughout music, throughout culture, songs especially. There's blue mentioned in so many songs out there. You know why? I've time traveled back, and I've laid my essence on these people to the blue, into their work, so I can prove to all of you that I'm a time traveler. I know some of you are giggling and laughing, but I'm dead serious. I'm a time traveler. Okay? And here's one of the ways that I prove it. And it's based on quantum physics, is the best way I can describe. The universe is a finely tuned machine, and once you tap into that, you can go anywhere backwards, right? And then back to where you are presently. You can't go forward. There's no forward time machines, there's only backward time machines. Anybody tells you the forward time machine, they're full of shit. You can tell them I told them that, okay? It's a backwards time machine only. So, my first jump in the machine, I jumped back, and I jumped back to the 60s. By accident. I go, oh, the 60s, yeah, it'll be fun, you know? Drugs and rock and roll and free sex. I'm gonna go to the 60s, hell yeah, let's just go, see where we end up. And while I was there, and you can only go for 3 days at a time, and then the porthole closes, and if you're not near that porthole, you're sucked back in again. So I have 3 days at a time to get there. My first time, I met a guy named Sandy Perlman, and he worked with musicians. He was a nice guy. He also wrote poetry. So me and him were hanging out. We're eating oysters one night. And we're eating a bunch of oysters in some place that he goes to. And he's like, your name's Blue, right? That's a weird name. Blue Oysters. This is just strange. And the name Blue Oyster Cult came up somewhere in that conversation. And he wrote actually a poem about Blue Oyster Cult, about aliens that control the world. Look this shit up. Look Wikipedia. I'm dead serious. You'll find this. It's all there. Prove me wrong. Okay? Go look it up. And it's all there. So he also wrote a couple other ones. And he was a poem writer, and I didn't think much about it. I didn't know who he was at the time. I had no clue. So my 3 days are up. I come back. Now the other thing about the time machine is I don't age. I've had so many journeys in the past month that I've lived 100 years easily, and I don't age, and that's been wonderful. You get a big perspective on life when you don't age. It's just amazing. But anyways, so I started looking this guy up, and I realized there's this band called Soft White Underbelly. Now, who the hell is this Soft White Underbelly band? And I listened to them, and it's Nothing that you've ever really heard much of, I guess. Now, on a side note, until I go back and change time, it's the way it is. And then once I change it, it changes completely across the board. So there was this soft white underbelly. And I'm like, wow, that band has some potential. So I'm back again in 1971, right? And I'm hanging out with this band, because I can pinpoint where I need to go now, and I found them. And we're hanging out, having a good old time. We're watching TV. Well, first off, the first conversation I had with them was kind of funny. I pop in, and they're like, who are you? Where'd you come from? And I'm Blue. I'm a time traveler. And they're like, are you a Grim Reaper? And I'm like, no, I'm not a Grim Reaper. No. And by the way, you shouldn't fear the Reaper. I didn't think much about it, but I really didn't. You know, it was just a conversation point. But we hung out. We watched, what's that film? Those old movies that had the big Godzilla, right? You ever seen Godzilla on TV? We watched Godzilla for a while. We watched that, and we're sitting around, and Godzilla's picking up a bus, and he throws it right down in the center of town, you know, that kind of thing. And we're hanging out with Blue Oyster, with this band called Soft White Underbelly. And I'm like, guys, no one's going to make it with that. Like, where'd you get the name from? They said, from Sandy Pearlman, who I was talking about earlier. So he broke out his work, and he had a poem called Blue Oyster Cult. And Blue Oyster Cult, I said, you know, that's a pretty cool name, man. If you pick up that name, you got some success right about there. So we hung out for 3 days. We hung out, whatnot. We watched a lot of Godzilla films. They kept on asking about this Grim Reaper thing, and I'm like, you know, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but I'm not the Grim Reaper. Don't fear the Reaper, for Christ's sake. And I come back, and Blue Oyster Cult had appeared, right? And they had songs like Don't Fear the Reaper was their biggest song out there. I could never believe it. That one I can't prove, but the fact that they're called Blue Oyster Cult is because they met me. Now, that was my first trips into the time machine. And I was just, you know, here. So I look at this map of the solar system, and I'm like, this is pretty crazy. Where can I go in the past? So of course I picked Mars, right? Who wouldn't want to go to Mars? Well, we've already about life on Mars, so I picked Mars. I go back, let's rewind this map to about, in our time frame, we're looking at the 1800s or so. And I go there, and lo and behold, there's canals all over the place. Now you look this up too, if you look at the astronomers back in the day, they talked about canals, they called them canales. But they saw canals all over Mars scattered around there. And I was talking to these people, and they were having a catastrophic event. They were, I don't know how to describe what they were. They weren't like us. They were a spiritual essence. I don't know. Imagine us without the bodies. I don't know how to describe it, but that's who they were. And they were having a lot of time with bad water, and something was going wrong, so they had to leave. And lo and behold, I'm like, you know, Akron loves people from all around the world, so you should come to Akron, Ohio. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? So all these spirits came to Akron, Ohio. And you know what they did in Akron, Ohio at that time period? Can anybody guess? They built canals. Hell yeah, they did. They built canals. And you know what canals did? Canal created culture here in Akron, Ohio. Canals created what we have here in Akron, Ohio. Akron, Ohio was a backwater, bunch of swampy area that no one in their right mind would live. Mosquitoes and swamps and frogs and whatever else. The canal builders came here. They like to say it was a foreign workforce. They don't want to tell you that it was actually a Martian workforce that came here. So that's just a couple of my trips to the time machine, but I was able to influence those Martians to come back here and build canals in Akron, Ohio. Now, I don't really care if you believe this or not, but this shit is true. Look at everything that I set up on Wikipedia. You'll find every one of these damn facts are true. I told them not to mention blue-green. So, I got more stories to tell, and when you hear blue somewhere out there, know that I'm the one that implanted that blue back in my time machine. Thank you for your cooperation, and thank you for your evening.